If you're planning an Alaska cruise, this video is for you. We put together our ultimate guide to planning an Alaska cruise, covering everything you need to know about the best time of year to cruise to Alaska, picking the right cruise line, choosing the right itinerary, selecting shore excursions, plus our insider tips to help you save money when planning your cruise, how to pack for an Alaska cruise, and more up next. Welcome aboard, cruisers. I'm DB from Eat, Sleep, Cruise, where we help you plan the perfect vacation so you can see the world one port at a time. And one of our favorite places to visit is Alaska. We've sailed there multiple times with several different cruise lines. So to help others plan their bucket list cruise, we've put together this complete guide to planning an Alaska cruise. Of course, if you have questions at all about planning an Alaska cruise or just cruising in general, please leave them in the comment section below, and we'll be sure to answer them. Alaska is one of the top cruise destinations. It's a cruise on the top of many travelers' bucket lists. Although, unlike Caribbean cruises, Alaska is a seasonal cruise port. This means that you'll only be able to cruise to Alaska during select months of the year. Picking the best time of year to take an Alaska cruise depends on several factors. Among the things you'll need to consider are the weather, price, and crowds. Thus, when to cruise to Alaska is not as clear-cut as you might think. The Alaskan cruise season generally runs from late April, early May through the end of September into October. With that being said, many choose to visit Alaska in the middle of the season, as they believe this will provide the best Alaska cruise experience. July usually offers the best combination of average temperatures, rainfall amounts, and hours of daylight. Rain and temperature swings of 25 degrees or more are still common though. However, you'll have the most hours of daylight and the best chance at wildlife sightings. However, with optimal weather comes increased crowds and increased price. If you take an Alaska cruise during the shoulder seasons, which are the beginning of the season and the end of the season, you will save money. Plus, you'll avoid the crowds, especially families. Although the weather and wildlife sightings will be less predictable early and late in the season. Still, we have cruised to Alaska later in the season 3 times now and have had great weather and an amazing experience. When beginning to plan your Alaska cruise, you need to consider the cost. You should know that Alaska cruise vacations are a bit on the pricey side when compared to other types of cruises, such as Bahamas cruises or Caribbean cruises. Alaska cruise costs fluctuate considerably depending on a few factors. These factors include the cruise line, cruise ship, the Alaskan itinerary, and time of year. If you have flexible vacation time, choosing the right time to take an Alaskan cruise can have a big impact on your budget. Typically, the middle of the summer, which coincides with the best weather, most wildlife, and school breaks, will usually be the most expensive. Further, the cruise line and cruise ship you choose will also dictate the cost of your Alaskan cruise. Most major cruise lines now sail to Alaska, so you will have a wide selection from which to choose. Generally speaking, the newer ships from each cruise line will be more expensive than some of the older ships in the cruise line's fleet, as there's more demand for these newer vessels. Premium and luxury cruise lines will also be more expensive than more family-friendly cruise lines. Other factors to consider when determining costs for your best Alaska cruise are the embarkation port, stateroom category, and the shore excursions you plan on doing while ashore. Depending from where you are traveling, you'll most likely need at least one pre-cruise hotel day. Flights to Anchorage for one-way voyages will be more expensive than flights to either Seattle or Vancouver if you plan to do round-trip cruises. So your Alaska cruise itinerary will also impact the overall cost of your trip. Further, many cruisers choose to upgrade to a balcony on Alaska cruises, which will cost you more than, say, an inside or ocean view cabin. While it's not necessary, we certainly enjoy admiring the Alaskan landscapes from our cruise ship balcony. Lastly, when planning your Alaska cruise and budgeting, you should know that shore excursions in Alaska can also be more expensive than other destinations, like the Caribbean. This is especially true if you want to book some of the once-in-a-lifetime tours during your Alaska cruise. When we think of the best Alaska cruise experiences, like a helicopter ride over Mendenhall Glacier, or a Misty Fjords float plane excursion, or other similar experiences, these tours can cost $500 per person or more, so you need to plan accordingly. To maximize your budget and get the best deals, we highly recommend you book early. We always recommend booking at least 6 to 12 months out. So if you're watching this video this summer, hopefully you're planning your Alaska cruise for 2023. When you book early, you can take advantage of the lowest cruise rates. In general, we have not found prices to get any cheaper over time. On the rare occasion that prices do drop, you can usually get a price adjustment up to the final payment date. This is another reason we highly suggest you book with a certified cruise travel agent. A travel agent can help you navigate the waters of booking a cruise and is also someone in your corner that can work directly with the cruise line in case any issues pop up or prices do drop. Alaska is one of the top cruise destinations, with over 1 million cruisers traveling there each year. With that said, more and more cruise lines and ships are sailing to the region every year to give you more choices to pick the best Alaska cruise for you. From family-friendly cruise lines, to luxurious all-inclusive experiences, to even small ship adventure cruises, there's truly no single best cruise line for an Alaskan cruise. Truthfully, it all depends on what your travel party wants and their cruise vacation preferences. Brands like Norwegian Cruise Line and Royal Caribbean offer more diversity for multi-generational families. With some of the newest and most innovative ships in the fleet cruising in Alaska, this might be the best Alaska cruise picks for families. Ships like Norwegian Encore or Ovation of the Seas offer some of the most innovative onboard amenities for the whole family to enjoy. These ships also have some of the best entertainment at sea on board. Then there are brands like Celebrity Cruises, Holland America Line, and Princess Cruises, which offer a bit more luxury for the sophisticated traveler with fewer kid-friendly options. Now, this is not to say that these brands necessarily appeal to an older clientele, they just happen to be a little bit more couple-oriented. Still, all of these cruise lines do offer some family activities, and all of them do offer organized kids programs if you want to bring the little ones along. We have cruised to Alaska on Celebrity Cruises, Holland America Line, Princess Cruises, and Norwegian Cruise Line, and enjoyed our experiences on all of the different lines, even though each line has its own unique style of cruising. Among these premium lines, Holland America Line is offering Alaska cruises on 6 different ships, including one of its newest ships, Konsingdam. Princess Cruises is known for having a big presence in Alaska, and this year, Princess Cruises also is offering 6 different ships in the region. Our pick for the best Alaska cruise from this cruise line would definitely be Discovery Princess. There are also luxury brands like Viking Cruises. Now, these cruise lines definitely cost more, but their cruise fares are more inclusive, including things such as shore excursions at each port of call, beer and wine at meals, free Wi-Fi, and other complimentary amenities. So if you're looking for a more all-inclusive Alaska cruise vacation with a little bit less planning, you might want to consider a luxury brand. Besides Viking, other luxury brands that visit the region include Regent Seven Seas, Silver Sea, and Seabourn. Finally, small ship adventure brands like Uncruise and National Geographic offer more up-close and personalized visits to this region. These brands appeal to nature explorers and those who don't want the typical cruise experience. Thus, these ships will have less onboard activities, but more hands-on and authentic experiences. Debuting in Alaska this year is the brand new American Queen Voyages Ocean Victory. This purpose-built expedition vessel has debuted just in time for the Alaska cruise season and will visit the less traveled regions of Alaska's Inside Passage. While planning your Alaska cruise, you do need to consider the itineraries and destinations that you want to visit during your trip. The most common Alaska cruises are 7 days in length, though this can vary. Alaska cruises can either be round trip or one-way sailings. Round trip sailings generally depart from Seattle, Washington or Vancouver, British Columbia, with one-way sailings generally cruising from Seward or Whittier, Alaska to Vancouver, British Columbia, and vice versa on northbound or southbound routes. Some cruise lines also offer select Alaska cruises out of California. The top ports of call on an Alaska cruise include Juneau, Ketchikan, and Skagway in southeast Alaska, as well as Victoria, British Columbia, in Canada. Some ships might also stop in ports such as Sitka, Haines, or Icy Strait Point. Most cruises will also have at least one day of scenic cruising, where you sail past majestic glaciers and fjords. These days might include sailing through the Inside Passage, or by the Sawyer Glacier, the Dawes Glacier, the Hubbard Glacier, or sailing Glacier Bay National Park. In our opinion, if you're looking for the best Alaska cruise itinerary, we suggest booking one that cruises through Glacier Bay National Park. We've visited the park twice now, and the views are amazing. Although, if you can't find a cruise ship that suits your needs with a Glacier Bay National Park itinerary, you can get a similar up-close experience if you book a Tracy Elm Fjord and Glacier Explorer excursion. Speaking of shore excursions, part of the planning process is picking your Alaska cruise shore excursions. Now, many cruises stop at the capital city of Juneau, which is the perfect port for cruisers to test their appetite for thrill-seeking. Visitors can take a zipline adventure through the Tongass National Forest or admire the Mendenhall Glacier from a helicopter tour, guided walk, or even a dog sled adventure. Juneau is also popular for whale watching tours and traditional salmon bakes as well. You can explore the downtown area, including visiting Tracy's Crab Shack for the best legs in town and the Red Dog Saloon. Made famous by the gold rush, Skagway is now largely supported by tourism. The White Pass and Yukon Route Railroad is the #1 Alaska cruise excursion. This narrow gauge railway, built in 1898 during the Klondike Gold Rush, ascends nearly 3,000 feet along its 20-mile path, from Skagway to the White Pass summit. In Skagway, you can also interact with Iditarod sled dogs, go ziplining, or visit a bald eagle preserve. The historic downtown also offers a number of landmarks, including the Red Onion Saloon. Given Ketchikan's weather and location, it's no surprise that you'll find beautiful landscapes, including the Misty Fjords National Park. This 2.3 million acre national forest is best viewed by seaplane. Thus, a float plane tour is one of the most popular shore excursions in the city. We've also loved our bear watching excursion in Ketchikan too. Ketchikan is also known for its large collection of totem poles and the infamous Creek Street. This former red light district is where both men and salmon came upstream to spawn. If your cruise ship happens to be visiting Icy Strait Point, the Zip Rider is one of the best Alaska cruise shore excursions. If you love a thrill, you should book this world's largest zip rider immediately. Once you've picked the date, cruise ship, and your shore excursions, now the real fun begins of actually planning the cruise itself. Hopefully, you took our advice and you planned well in advance, because there are several things you're going to need to do to be prepared to board your ship on embarkation day. The first thing you should do is download the cruise line's app to your smartphone. All major cruise lines now have smartphone apps that enable you to do a number of different things. Several cruise lines, like Princess Cruises and Royal Caribbean, allow you to do your online check-in via the app. That way you don't need to play with any papers and can just show up at the pier on day one, scan, and get right on the ship. The apps also allow you to do a number of things, such as book shore excursions and make reservations. We highly suggest you book your shore excursions as early as possible, as the popular ones do sell out. You should also use the app or your cruise line's online portal to make reservations for certain things such as specialty dining, or if you have some type of flexible dining option, do know that many cruise lines let you pre-book dining times ahead of your cruise. You might also want to book specialty dining. These alternative restaurants are an upcharge, but they offer a more upscale menu, and unique dining experiences on your ship. Again, the popular specialty restaurants do book up quickly, so we suggest you make reservations in advance. Depending on what's included in your cruise, you may also consider a package, such as a drink package. The cost of drink packages do vary greatly, so we suggest you monitor the cruise line's website for pre-cruise sales and promotions. Plus, drink packages tend to be a greater value for some cruise lines versus others, as certain cruise lines include more in their beverage packages, such as bottled water and specialty coffees. Now, technically for US citizens, a passport is not required for closed-loop cruises. These are cruises that begin and end in the same US port. So if you're taking an Alaska cruise round trip from, say, Seattle, a birth certificate and a government-issued ID are the only forms of documentation required. Although if you're taking a one-way cruise, you will definitely need a passport. Either way, just because you don't need a passport for a particular cruise itinerary doesn't mean that you shouldn't have one. For instance, you might need one to enter one or more ports of call during your trip. Plus, if there's any disruptions for whatever reason during your cruise and you need to dock or stop at a particular port of call, if you don't have your passport, you may have issues getting home. Finally, if you're new to cruising, we have several space-saving hacks that will help you maximize the space in your cruise cabin. One tip we have is to store your luggage under the bed. One of the best ways to save space in your cruise cabin is to unpack and organize all your belongings on the first day, and then slide your empty luggage out of sight under your bed. Now, two things we always bring with us when we go on a cruise, regardless of the room category, is magnetic hooks and an over-the-door shoe organizer. And no, we don't bring enough shoes for a week-long cruise to use the over-the-door shoe organizer. Instead, we use this to organize and unpack accessories, like toiletries. This saves you valuable counter space, which is very limited in a cruise ship bathroom. Likewise, the walls of your cruise cabin are metal. Another great space-saving hack is to use magnetic hooks to create extra storage in your stateroom. Think of things such as bags, hats, jackets, or anything else you might ordinarily throw on the sofa or a desk. Using magnetic hooks, these items can now be hung up neatly to allow for extra seating and reduce clutter. Finally, we have some Alaska cruise packing tips for you. Because let's be honest, packing for an Alaska cruise is altogether different than you would typically pack for a Caribbean cruise. Now, we'll just give you some of our tips from cruising to Alaska multiple times. But if you're looking for a complete comprehensive guide, we have our complete cruise packing guide back on our site at eatsleepcruise.com. It even includes a printable checklist for those overplanners like us. But for some planning advice now, the time of year you cruise to Alaska will dictate to some degree what items you'll need to include on your Alaska cruise packing list. Also, the type of excursions you book should factor into what you pack too. That's why we recommend booking your tours, excursions, and your onboard experiences first before you begin packing. Most importantly, when cruising to Alaska, you need to pack layers and several pieces of rain gear. It will rain on your Alaska cruise, and you can expect temperature swings of 25 degrees or more in a given day. So lightweight, packable layers, including base layers, as well as outerwear, is essential when cruising to Alaska. But you don't need heavy coats or big boots. Packing accessories like gloves or hats are also essential and can make a big difference during those early morning glacier visits. Now, you don't want to forget your bathing suit. There are hot tubs and indoor pools on board many ships, as well as spas and a thermal suite. You might even get lucky enough with weather warm enough to enjoy outdoor pools on your ship. Also, when packing, make sure not to pack any prohibited items, such as bottles of liquor, as well as an iron. These will get your suitcase flagged and have you sent to the naughty room. With your entire trip planned and your suitcases packed, now you can relax and enjoy this once-in-a-lifetime trip way up north to Alaska. And there you have it. That's our complete guide to planning an Alaska cruise. But of course, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the comment section your tips or tricks for cruising to Alaska. I'm DB from Eat, Sleep, Cruise, and if you enjoyed this video, we have tons of other cruise reviews, ship tours, cruise planning advice, and travel tip videos right here on our channel. If you're not sure where to start, we suggest you take a look at our picks for the top Alaska cruises. If you're thinking about taking an Alaska cruise and want more details about comparing cruise lines and cruise ships, this video is for you, as we share our picks for the best cruise ships that regularly sail to Alaska every year.